Hello, and thank you for watching this September 14th weather update, brought to you by Agrible, the makers of Morning Farm Report. My name is Eric Snodgrass, and I'm a senior atmospheric scientist and co-founder of Agrible. Well, despite the fall-like cool-down experienced around the Corn Belt at the end of last week, the heat from the previous week has made for a rather warm start to September. Here we see the temperature anomalies for the first 12 days of September, and the eastern two-thirds of the country have been quite warm. Don't get used to the cooler weather we had over the weekend, though, as warmer weather will return to the Corn Belt this week. We'll talk more about that forecast in a moment. In terms of precipitation, here's a look at the first 14 days of accumulated rainfall, expressed as a percent of average. As is typical with late summer precipitation, sporadic heavy rainfall from localized clusters of thunderstorms has been the dominant precipitation feature over the last week and a half. Over this time, we have seen heavy rainfall events in southwestern Iowa, eastern and southern Illinois, central Wisconsin, parts of Minnesota, and Ohio. Elsewhere, corn is drying nicely in the fields as harvest gains momentum. One of the biggest concerns for the 2015 bean crop, though, is the risk of an early frost. Many fields were planted 3 to 6 weeks late due to late spring rains, making them vulnerable to an early frost. Shown here are some important data to keep in mind as September wears on. These first 3 sets of numbers represent the frost data for Illinois and Indiana. The top number is the number of years since 1950 that have had a frost in September. The middle date is the date of the earliest frost, and the bottom date is the average date of the first frost of fall. As we can see, in the central parts of Illinois and Indiana, September frosts are very rare. Across Iowa and Nebraska, early October is normal for the first frost, and over the 65-year period of record used here, which again goes from 1950 to 2014, between 25 and 40% of the years had a frost in mid to late September. Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan naturally have earlier frosts, but even in central Minnesota, 20 times in the last 65 years, the first frost was in October, not September. Looking short-term first, this animation starts on Monday morning and shows the temperature forecast through Saturday afternoon. We can clearly see that warmer air pushes into the Great Plains and Midwest through this week, bringing upper 70s and lower 80s to a large part of the Corn Belt. Nighttime lows dip into the low 50s later this week, but our best forecast models suggest that we make it through the third week of September without a widespread frost. This is very good news as the beans yellow and dry down. Looking into next week, the pattern for above-average temperatures continues for most of the United States. Here is the one-month outlook released by NOAA for September, which forecasts most of the Corn Belt to be slightly above average this September. The warm start to September has certainly helped this forecast verify. Looking into the next 10 to 14 days, ensemble model forecasts are showing no signs of an early fall cold air outbreak, which has relieved worry of an early widespread frost, especially in the southern parts of the Corn Belt where beans were planted very late. If this forecast should change, we will be the first to let you know. Looking ahead at this week's precipitation, much of the United States starts off dry. East of the Rocky Mountains, only Florida and Maine are dealing with significant precipitation through midweek. Drier conditions will allow moisture values to continue to fall for corn, reducing the need for drying at the elevator. Also, this drier weather will allow for field conditions to improve in a few places that have received a lot of rain in the last week. Beyond midweek, a front drapes across the United States by Friday and Saturday, bringing the next significant chance of rain to the Corn Belt. Keep a close eye on the radar and be sure to use Agrible's Tractor Time and Pocket Rain Gauge products to ensure that you're making the best decision with field operations this week. Well, as always, we at Agrible will bring you the latest and best weather forecast information through our Morning Farm Report so that you can efficiently plan your operations. We thank you for your attention and hope you look forward to our next weather video update. Thank you.